So yeah, we'll do a quick introduction and then we'll sort of turn around to you. That's
okay, good, yeah.
Right, should we just get started? So no buffer this morning. Usually we leave it for a couple of minutes, but we've got a busy day ahead of us.
So good morning, I'm Freya.
And I'm Alex behind the camera. And
yeah, so we're here today. We're from TCV Hollybush up in Leeds, and we are not in Leeds today. We are on tour again. We are at Rossington Colliery down near Doncaster. Pretty exciting. So this is a project that TCV York have been working on for a project called For Waste Management. And they've asked us to come down and help because they are planting 19,000 trees.
a lot of trees.
So a lot of trees, isn't it? Yeah. It's a huge number of trees. And they're about, I think, just over about 3/4 of the way through that project at the moment. So we've got sort of a last ditch effort to get the last 5,000 trees in before the planting season comes to an end. And we're actually really grateful for the cold weather because it means we've got a little bit more time before the sap starts to rise and you stop being able to plant. So we are glad that it was -3 last night and still pretty cold now. And so we've got a couple of people who are joining us today who are two of the volunteers, and this is Barry and this is Tony.
Hi.
Who are two local people who are volunteering, so know a lot more about the site than we do because we've just rocked up this morning from Leeds. So yeah, you've just been talking a little bit about the history of the site. Do you want to quickly, I'll start with you, Barry, and then I'll start going on. Hold on, let me get the microphone a little bit.
I worked at this colliery, did my apprenticeship at this colliery, and I worked at this colliery and Yorkshire Main Colliery. I did my apprenticeship here and did my final work here before I took the redundancy just before it closed.
So what sort of thing were you doing on your apprenticeship?
I was a mechanic.
Mechanic?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I worked on the pit top, but a lot of the time, part of my apprenticeship was down the line, and I obviously had to go down occasionally anyway. And even after that, so I enjoyed it. I enjoyed working.
So how many people were there working here?
About 2,000.
About 2,000.
Wow. Yes.
Big opera. Well, you can see if you sort of look around, it's massive, isn't it?
They produced over 1 million tonnes a year at this colliery.
1 million tonnes a year.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
Yes. One of the larger ones.
Yeah. Wow. And how about you?
Yeah, well, my family's in the mining industry, so not for me. They won't let me go down. So, I'm pretty grateful, I think, from all the stories I've heard from people who have. But, a big employer, obviously, in the area, and give you all and the spinning industries that mine supplies and things like that.
Yeah.
So when it closed, it was a big blow for the village.
Yeah.
And
what's it been since then? So was it 1986? You said you thought
round about that.
Around about late 80s.
After the strike in 1984, they closed it within about 12 months later. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So what's been here since it closed? So what's that? Maths, well, terrible maths. That's 35 years.
The company came in to take away the sort of sift through the pit tip and take away the usable coal from that, which they was here for a good many years, and they gave the local parish council and groups some funding for different projects. So they helped out very much, and this is what they did to the pit tip. They covered it and grassed it, and now you're here greening it even more.
Well, not us, you guys. You guys are doing it,
yeah. Yeah, so this project, I think, from what so far there's been sort of wildflower meadows that were planted last year, and now we're doing the trees this year, and it's going to be sort of there's going to be hedgerows and what, and it's going to be a park, isn't it? It's going to be a big country park, nature reserve.
That's the plan. Yeah.
So are you excited to have that?
Oh yeah. It will be. It's a lovely area. Obviously, when the trees are grown, it'll be absolutely brilliant. It'll be a lovely country park. Hopefully, get used.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like right now a lot of the locals do use it. So when it's in full bloom, it'd be wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of walkers, dog walkers, and families come up here, and it's really nice.
I've seen, I pulled up this morning a bit early. I was just like bird watching and looking for things. I've seen a couple of buzzards already. But once this is sort of rewilded again, I can imagine it's going to be an absolute amazing nature space.
Yeah. And we're going to go and have a chat with the project lead in a minute. And yeah, I think they've sent through a list in the email of all the different wildlife they've seen. It was quite, we'll ask them that question, because I've sort of got a loose memory of reading an email.
Skylarks are quite common as well now.
Skylarks, exciting.
Well, thank you very much, both of you. And I'm really happy that we got to talk to you, because it's going to be it's really good effort to improving your local green spaces. Yeah. Really nice. Right, we'll let you crack on. Get your hands dirty. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right, let's head up the hill.
Sorry.
We're talking now, and we are live. If you're watching it back after the fact, we can't answer your questions, but if you type a question in the comments during the video, we should be able to see it. And if you type it after the fact, then we can still come back and answer it.
Yeah.
So, and Hazel from Hollybush is the person manning the computer end. So you might see her interacting as TCV in the chat.
I mean, you can see the ground here, just for people wondering. It is an old, it's all just waste slag really from the mine. There's little bits of coal, lots of, it's not typical dirt that you probably plant a tree in your own back garden, but
which means I think they have been selecting the species to be slightly more resilient, because we are quite high up, it is quite windy, the ground quality is quite poor.
Oh, so this is the first time we've come up here this morning, and I'm seeing all of these canes laid out. So each one of these bamboo canes is going to be where we plant a tree. So you can see, well, they kind of go as far as the eye can see.
And they're sort of back on the far side of the valley, there's a load, and sort of the next hill. So a very large area has been planted up, isn't it? Oh, it's a lovely spot.
It's wonderful. It's huge as well. The site itself, we don't know the actual size, but it's definitely massive.
I think Joe's got an idea of the size. So yeah, if you're ever planning a dog walk around the Doncaster Rossington area, then give it about 10 years and this will be a small woodland, but a woodland. Oh, they're walking away from us.
So the site itself, I think we were talking earlier that the pile here was a lot taller, and it's been spread out across the site. And there used to be a small woodland just over here where the trees are. So the pile had been spread over, and I think they probably took quite a few trees out. So now we're, sort of giving back.
So we've actually got two groups out today who are working on this project. So the planting should have started in November, but then because there's been a plague, there's been COVID, the project was delayed, the suppliers and things, the supply chains just didn't work out, which meant they didn't actually start until February, this planting project, which is normally quite late for starting a planting project, because you want to do tree planting over winter, really when the tree is dormant. So I mentioned earlier about how the cold weather we're having at the moment, the cold snap we're having, is actually helping because it's delaying. Yeah, should we go and have a look at where we are?
So behind us is quite a residential area. There's lots of houses, lots of streets, and then on the other side of this site we have a big warehouse. I won't say whose warehouse it is, but it is a,
internet suppliers are available.
It's a big industrial warehouse. So again, just thinking of like,
you can say it's Amazon.
Global carbon offset, like
we're not
the amount
BBC,
of trees. We're not with the TCV.
So yeah, it's next to the Amazon warehouse. It's just off the M18. It's just a load of new housing developments over there.
Mm-hmm.
There's sort of old lakes that that's going to be some wetland. There's going to be some marshland. There's going to be lots of different habitat types that they're regenerating into what has just been an old pile of waste material, basically.
Mm.
And it's going to be, yeah, it's quite, apart from the fact, let us know if you can hear us properly, because this is our first time trialing the mics with the windproof thingambobbins, whatever they are, socks. They're called wind, what are they called?
I'm not sure.
So do let us know if you're struggling to hear us. We can adjust the sound a little bit, so, but hopefully the sound is better than it has been in previous weeks, because we didn't have the mics until last week. Yeah.
So with us today, we have quite a large number of volunteers. Obviously, COVID secure, we're 2 groups of 6, but there's 12 of us here on site, and it's a big effort. And obviously, massive thank you to everyone that's come and helped. Again, I'm just kind of here as a glory volunteer. I'm only here for 1 day, similar to I was with the reed planting.
Getting our faces on the internet, so it looks like we're the ones that do the work.
It's an amazing effort by everyone. Because I think is that some livestock down there?
Yeah, we've got sheep. Brilliant. So shall we go and have a chat with Joe, who I think is now... The other group's working down here somewhere. I was hoping we'd be able to spot them, but...
We might go have a look towards the end of the stream just to see them working as well. God, it's quite brisk today.
Yeah. I think the temperature in my van when I got in it this morning was -3, which I think it was supposed to be overnight, and I think it got to it. But yeah, it can definitely feels a lot more like winter than spring today, doesn't it?
I'm glad that we're going to be having some hard work today.
So you can see we're spreading out now. You can see the ones that have been done because they'll have a tree guard on them, and you can see the ones to do, which is a lot more than the ones that are done, but it's only the start of the day. And then, do you mind talking us through quickly the technique you're doing, or have I got you on a really rocky bit of ground? So you can kind of see it's not the easiest of land to dig on. I won't put you under pressure. Oh yeah, I wanted to ask you a little bit about the species.
Do you want me to grab a spade as well?
Yeah, that's. Or if you're talking to Alex's mic, and I can go and grab the spade while Alex gets.
Yeah, right, hold on, I'll turn myself up. Okay, so, I mean, do you want to fill us in on a bit of the project?
Yeah. So we've got a group of volunteers from TCV in York and also local people from Rossington. I think you've already been talking to this one. And we're planting 19,000 native deciduous trees on this former colliery squirrel peak in Rossington in Doncaster. So we've got 5 different areas of woodland. The one we're at the moment, we're kind of at one end of it at the moment. This is the near end, and then it stretches about 250 metres around the brow of the hill into the distance there. So in this area we've got 2,500 trees, and there's 4 other areas spread out on the hillsides behind us that we've already done. We're kind of getting to the end of the project now, thankfully. And we've got 13 different species in total that are going into this area. So I'm not sure if I'll remember the whole 13, but we've kind of split them out. So the species that we're putting around the edge are the sort of smaller, bushier species that like a bit more light in the woodland and do well on the edge of the woodland. So things like you've got hawthorn, blackthorn, gelder rose, dog rose, hazel, various ones like that. And then in the centre we've got birch and alder, oak, aspen and wild cherry. So the slightly larger woodland trees will be throughout the centre of each area. So hopefully it's going to grow up into quite a nice diverse woodland.
Yeah.
And it's likely things like birch and alder tend to be the more colonising species, so they're quite likely to be the first one. And is there ash in it, or
No ash.
there's no ash in it though?
No,
So those,
due to ash dieback.
Yeah, that's kind of
buy ash from nurseries at the moment unless it's specially sourced.
So those trees will grow quickly. They're sort of the pioneer species. So a lot of young woodland, those are sort of dominant species you'll see. And then you've got things like oak and aspen. I don't know so much about aspen, but like they'll grow later. So you'll see there's these big trees, and ash is usually one of them, which means all of the sort of 20-30-year-old woods you see that have been planted, a lot of the ash is now coming out of them because of ash dieback. So they're suddenly becoming much smaller woodland. But yeah, things like birch, you plant them, they grow, they get really tall, but they've actually only got a lifespan of about 40 to 100 years, which means a lot of the time, as they're getting to the end of their lifespan, the other large species will just sort of be coming to get into their full adult size. So you'll see that the birch and things are starting to fall down. We get it at the Hollybush Garden. The birch are also, it's 40 years old now, and the birch are definitely starting to get old, but other trees are just sort of coming into sort of dominance. And it's just part of the succession of the land, because that is what this process is. It was sparse colliery, and then it's had the grassland, like Barry and Tony were saying, and now this is speeding up the process of succession by planting these trees.
A finger of woodland down in the valley there, actually, which is exactly what you were saying. It's that the birch is now quite mature and is starting to fall, and through the centre of the woodland you've got the oak trees are starting to mature and create a nice woodland understory. Nice deep leaf litter in there, lots of bugs and wildlife and all sorts of stuff.
Because that is the sort of sign of a mature woodland, isn't it? Trees dying is part of the life cycle of a woodland. And
you sent us a list of sort of species that you'd seen around here, of animals and stuff. I did see a buzzard earlier fly over my car as I parked up, but just because that's what people like, that's what people want to hear.
Yeah, it's been great actually. We've had every possible type of weather that you could think of, but also lots of wildlife around as well, particularly on the sunny, less windy days. The far end of the site, back towards where the cemetery is, where you can see the conifer trees there. Down that end particularly, it's just full of skylarks. I've never seen so many skylarks in one area, and they just sound amazing, all going up singing and fighting together as well, sorting out their mates for the season. But it sounds wonderful. It's great to see them all. And we've seen that as the ground floor has come through, there's been a lot of spring flowers as well. We've had speedwell, lots of red dead nettle, really good covering of what the name's got escapes me now. It's the little white one. Chickweed, that's what I'm lots of little white wildflowers coming through, which means that is attracting all the insects. So we've seen quite a lot of bumblebees. There were quite a few sightings of orange-tipped butterfly a couple of weeks ago, and then the peacocks came out. Now it's ladybirds everywhere. So that's great to see. And we've seen a couple of deer as well, which isn't nice when you're planting trees, because not many, just the odd couple.
Hopefully they won't get through 19,000 trees.
No, that's quite challenging. And yeah, lots of buzzards as well. They've been weaving overhead, so I guess that means there's quite a lot of
small
little nibblers.
Well.
Brilliant.
That's amazing.
Okay, so
and there's a really nice view out to. We're on the edge of Doncaster and Rossington here. You can sort of see the urban area looking back that way. But if you look out in that direction, it's got wonderful views of the surrounding countryside. And there've been flocks of geese down there, and we've seen a white egret as well. Quite a lot of wildlife flying past as well.
Yeah,
it's an exciting project, isn't it? I'm planning in my dog walk for 10-15 years time, I reckon.
Yeah, we're going to have to come back and see how it all looks in 10 years time.
Yeah, so it's for waste management of the people that are managing the overall site.
Yeah. So we're working for 4R. They're managing the the restoration of the site overall, and it's on behalf of the landowner, which is Howard Group, Howard Estate.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Cool. It's really interesting.
So should we have? I mean, we're not planting mature adult trees. Let's have a look at what we're actually going to be planting.
I've got some hazel here. So they're about probably 1 or 2 years old, quite vulnerable in the bare roots, so I shouldn't keep them out in the wind too long. We try and keep them in the bag as long as we possibly can to protect the roots, because they're quite vulnerable. So we've got 4 different species that we're planting today: hazel, hawthorn, viburnum, which is elder rose, and the other one, elder. So they're all bare root species, and then we've got the other species, cell grown. So they come essentially in a little pod of compost, so the roots are much better protected, and you can carry on planting those slightly longer than these. So we're really right at the very end of the plant.
Because this is exactly the perfect bad weather for bare root plants, isn't it? Windy, cold, sunny and dry. So this wind will just be stripping all of the moisture out of these poor little naked roots.
Yeah.
Are you all right to demonstrate, speaking of getting them in the ground? Or
yes, I'll have a go. Yeah. The ground is quite variable. Some is really beautiful, rich soil, and then you get a rocky patch like here.
It's live, so it's not going to be easy.
This is what we did do more of a demonstration of tree planting and the hedge planting live stream we did a couple of months ago.
Okay.
So yeah, if people want to go and have a look a little bit closer at how to do the techniques. We also encountered hard ground because it was where all of the dredging from the canals piled off outside Hollybush. So it was also quite a lot of rock. Oh, it was frozen solid, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, it was
absolutely rock hard.
Because we're planting so many in one go, we've already we came out yesterday and we set out the canes. They're all 2.5 meters apart, so it gives you an idea of rough spacing of the trees for the whole woodland. So you've got a marker of where the tree's going to go. I just dug a notch by digging the spade in, and then just push it backwards and forwards to open a kind of a V-shaped notch. And then you can put your tree in to the notch. Just make sure the roots get down to about soil level and it tucks down nicely into the ground. And then you just want to use your toe to cover that hole back in again. Make sure the roots are fully covered, and you close up any air holes down there because the air can dry the roots out as well. I'm just going to reposition the cane slightly closer to the tree, and then pop the spiral over the top to protect it.
There we go.
Excellent.
So we've only got to do that another 5,000 times.
Done by lunchtime.
Right, yeah.
Brilliant. So shall we walk a...
We're going to have a window. Thank you very much. We'll have a window. We'll go have a look at the other two. Are they just over the other side of the hill?
If you just go over the brow of the hill that way, you should be able to see the next
Brilliant.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
So we did also do another video a couple of weeks ago on the reed planting that we were doing up in Blythe, which was also with the same team doing that project up there, and that was reed planting on an old colliery site. So that was another, if you're interested in collieries, that's another look at some of the regeneration that is happening, or processing of the waste in that case. And if you want to see a reclaimed colliery woodland, when we were up there, the Ashington community woodland up there is also, that's a planted, I think that was done in the late 90s.
Oh, wow.
They planted the woods up there, and that's got sort of red squirrels and things, so that one's quite established now. So if you're up in Northumberland and you want to go and admire what this project might look like in 20-30 years time, then that wood's quite a good.
If you live in Leeds, specifically South Leeds, there is the Rothwell Country Park, and that is an old open mine, and I think TCV has done some work there. When I was walking through there a few years ago, I saw some signs of TCV. They built a few ponds there, but that's got small woodland, lots of sort of wildflower meadows as well. That's just in South Leeds, so go check it out. It's not as big as this site, but
you can see it's definitely just an old sort of
an
old rubbish heap.
Lots of bits of
you look at the ground, just lots of
metal and stuff.
industrial looking floor.
I can't see the other two.
I can't see them either. Hopefully, I mean, they'll be planting trees next to some stakes, so they can't have gone too wrong. But there's just, you can see, this is bits that have been done. This is just sort of giving you an idea of the scale of it. And imagine when all of these sticks are full-grown trees. It's going to be quite an interesting sight. What time are we on now?
We're about 25
past.
So another thing about this sort of ground, as we're walking on it, it's sort of falling apart under my feet. And a thing that the trees can do is sort of provide support for the ground as their roots grow. And as time goes on, trees will fall down. And it's that sort of succession of really sort of improving.
Protecting against soil erosion. So stopping all of this with all whatever pollutants might still be in it. Ooh! This is where we have to pretend that we're as good at bird ID.
They're too far away. The sunlight's just making them look like brown, sort of golden brown. I can't tell what
brown birds.
Well, I think we've come to the edge. We can't find the other team. The site is quite big.
The brow of the hill. Right.
Well, we can't find the other team, but never mind. They're probably just doing exactly the same as what we've just shown you.
Yeah, having a look around. And so we've got all of these trees that we've brought in for this project, but if you've got a small patch of land that you're wanting to plant trees on, then it's ended for this year. But if you look on the TCV website and look up I Dig Trees, that's sponsored by OVO Energy, then you can get free tree packs from TCV, and that's sort of part of a project that we've been doing. So do look that up and get them ordered for next winter. And they don't cost anything. There's different tree packs for different types of habitats, so you can select. They're slightly restricted, but there are sort of multiple different packs that might suit your needs. So there's one that's more suited for planting a hedge for smaller areas, for areas like this, because different species of tree are differently suited for different habitats. So yeah, have a look up. If you've got a colliery that you want to regenerate, then get in touch, because we can plant you 19,000 trees. But yeah, on a smaller scale, those are available for sort of volunteer groups, community groups to get for free. So yeah, take a look. I reckon we've not found the other group.
No, but yeah,
these tree guards go on for miles. Well, not miles, but it's a long way. It's a lot of trees.
It goes on and on and on.
So we'll be back. I think we should probably wrap up now.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
We'll be back next week. You turn the camera around. You've not.
I've not seen my. No, hold on. It takes a while for me to turn the camera around.
We've got this new setup with sort of a tripod and thing that's very fancy with the.
My fingers are also so cold that it's not recognising them as fingers. There you go. Okay, so there we go.
So yeah, I've been Freya.
And I'm Alex.
Finally on the camera. We'll be doing this live stream again next Wednesday and every Wednesday at 11 AM. And even though we're opening up again and we are starting some groups up again, we will keep doing this because the groups will only be small and some people still won't be able to access them initially. So do keep an eye on our Facebook page and our YouTube each week for the different live streams on sort of different things. We will be in Leeds most of the time, but we might go out on the road again on other weeks. So let us know if there's any topics that you want us to cover for you as well.
Or projects that you know are going on.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, we're definitely up for coming and visiting sort of community projects if you want to chat, or
projects in the West Yorkshire largely area. We've ventured into South Yorkshire today.
I prefer anywhere in the Maldives, anything that's happening sort of south of the equator.
So thank you very much for joining us, and if you are watching this back after the fact, please do ask questions in the comments and we will try and answer them for you. If we can't, we might be able to investigate them for you.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. We're going to go and plant some trees, actually do some work.
Yeah. All right, well, take care everyone.
Bye bye.